There is a reason it matters whether the economy is in recession or not. Fiscal and monetary policy usually change. Steve Leisman joins us right now with how Washington recession playbooks are likely to be different this time. Good morning, Steve.
Hey, good morning, Becky. Yeah, if the U.S. is in or about to enter a recession, it could be a rougher ride for investors and American workers because Congress and the Fed are less likely to come immediately to the rescue this time. Fiscal and monetary stimulus have been the mainstays of Washington's recession playbook in the past, but it's unlikely given that they were part of the problem this time, and more stimulus would do nothing but make inflation worse. In each of the past 4 recessions, the Fed has cut rates either ahead of or shortly after the recession was set to begin. The last time it brought them all the way down to zero, the last 2 times that is, for extended periods. But Fed Chair Jay Powell said this week, far from working to fix an economy that's running below potential, the U.S. needs below potential growth. So the only help investors might get from the Fed, maybe fewer rate hikes, but definitely not cuts this time around. And in 9 downturns going back to 1958, Congress has extended unemployment benefits, and the federal government, that is, usually boosts spending to help stimulate demand. But Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said deficit reduction is an important part of the new Inflation Reduction Act.
There is deficit reduction in the bill, and over time, I see deficit reduction as an appropriate accompaniment to the policy changes the Fed is putting into effect.
All of which brings us back to that controversial recession debate. Do people need the kind of help given how strong the job market is? Annetta Markowska from Jefferies saying yesterday the second quarter negative number signaled a recession without any of the normal implications. I quote here from her report, what's the opposite of a jobless recovery? A recession without layoffs, which is not really a recession. So as long as that's the case, and even if joblessness rises, the Fed can be expected to be raising rates, and the federal government is going to be sitting on the sidelines. They'll only take out the classic recession book, I think, when this starts looking more like a classic recession. Guys?
When you say a classic recession, are you talking about the job market getting really hurt, things turning down? But if you're still dealing with high inflation, can that be a classic recession? Or is that, as long as inflation is high, it's going to keep them from being able to address any of these things?
I think that's right, Becky. I think as long as inflation is high, the federal government needs to keep spending under control, which is, as Yellen acknowledged there, a part of reducing inflation. And the Fed cannot be cutting rates to help stimulate demand. What's interesting, John writing in Conrad DeQuadros yesterday from Brean Capital, writing that we don't have a demand problem. It was really interesting listening to the P&G guy. There is not a demand problem. There's a supply problem in this country. And there are issues and ways that we can think about addressing the supply problem, but there does not appear to be a demand problem.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.